This is the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by Dasos Digital. Now, here's your host, Brandon Wirth.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into the West Michigan Sports Show, presented by Dasos Digital. Navigate your way through the digital wilderness with the experts of DasosDigital.com. Yours truly, Brandon Wirth, joining you here. Long time no see, guys. Hope you enjoyed that edition, a special edition of the Rundown over the airwaves. All of our CSAA football coverage will be with our experts here on the Big Rapids Media Network, and we can't wait to bring you that coverage. But don't you worry, we will still have all of your score reports. Speaking of which, we got our first one of the entire school year right now coming up. It's great. We got scores to report, and that is a very exciting thing because that means we have numbers, and that means I get to dive into numbers. I am literally tapping my fingertips right now because I'm so excited for being able to break that all down for you. We can't wait to have you on the show with us here all season long. Can't wait to bring it to you as we are back in full swing. We'll also get into volleyball a little bit, just a little bit of a sneak preview based on what we see in week one, what we saw last year, maybe some things to watch coming up here in this next season. Very exciting. Some key departures for some teams, some key adds as well. We don't know everything about these teams. Certainly I don't, but we'll be able to break down what we saw on paper, what we can expect this year potentially on paper, and get you in the know for everything CSAA volleyball. But before we get into the local sports report, as well as our volleyball preview, big thanks to our sponsors. Those include Dasos Digital as our primary sponsor. You need help with website design, social media advertising, streaming, as well as many other technological advancements for your business. Make sure to reach out, DasosDigital.com, for more information. Also, big thanks to our other great sponsors, which include the Mecosta Osceola Career Center, Parasaddle Sales and Service of Big Rapids, Motor the Mecosta Osceola Transit Authority, Alter Care Big Rapids, Johnson's Automotive, the Schuberg Insurance Agency, and Quality Car and Truck Repair. Big thanks to you for your support of local high school athletics within the Big Rapids Media Network. All right, it's that time, y'all. Drum roll. We are in our first local sports report. Can't wait to break it down. So local results from August 16th all the way until today at just about 2 o'clock. I'm recording this a little bit ahead of time, just obviously with the on-air version of the rundown, as well as we got some scrimmages over at Ferris State happening here this evening, so wanted to go over there as well. So we're getting it a little bit early for you. So these scores are live and reported as of 2 o'clock today. So if there might be a couple more that are happening in the next couple hours, so you can stay tuned as well. We'll make sure to recap those on next week's episode if we miss any, as well as you can look on MHSAA.com if you want to know those scores so dire and badly before I have a chance to talk about them here next week. So we'll start on August 16th with some boys soccer action, some CSAA teams taking part in some opening games. Grant falls to Comstock Park 4-0 at home in their regular season opener, as well as Kent City battles Potter's House out of Wyoming to a tough 1-0 loss. It certainly seemed like a great game, but it's Potter's House getting on top of the Eagles. Newaygo defeats Kingsley in a very fun offensive showdown. 4-3 your final score there from Newaygo. So the Lions get an opening win to their season at home. Congratulations to the Lions. Some cross-country as well, some Warrior Invitational as well as Under the Lights. Some really, really cool performances as well. We saw a really good performance from Mr. Coaston out of Central Montcalm. Boy, that man is going to be on a tear this year. Gus Rohde as well to Reed City. Some good overall performances to highlight just a couple from Under the Lights as well as Warrior Invitational. You can check athletic.net for full breakdowns of all of those individual results from the first week of cross-country action, only because we don't have enough time to bring all of them to you here on the show. But big shout outs to them as well as some great individual performers on the women's side as well. August 20th, that's when cross country took place, but it also was some boys soccer action. Big Rapids had their hands full against Muskegon Reeds Puffer. 9-1 loss for the Cards. It was a really dreadful game. Just looking at Muskegon Reeds Puffer, they're a very good soccer team, and we saw that on display, but Big Rapids will bounce back. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. Also, on that August 20th afternoon, we saw a win for Wyoming Lee over the Tri-County Vikings by a score of 6-0. August 23rd, that's yesterday on Friday, we had some soccer and some volleyball action to break down for you. In boys soccer, speaking of Big Rapids, they got a bounce-back win over the Manistee Chippewas, formerly now known as the Mariners. 4-0, the Cardinals beat the Mariners at home to get a bounce-back win. Congratulations to that team, as well as Comstock Park takes down Newaygo, virtue of an 8-goal mercy, 8 goals to none there from Comstock Park. And Tri-County falls again to Greenville. Greenville certainly had Tri-County's number, it felt like, all year. 4-1 the final score in that Viking loss. Also in boys soccer, Reed City falls to an 8-0 loss to Shelby. The Tigers beat the Coyotes on their own home turf. Volleyball, it is a varsity first dig tournament for a couple CSAA teams taking on a former CSAA foe themselves. It's the Fremont Packers hosting some of these CSAA teams, including White Cloud, Tri-County, and it certainly was a rough one there for White Cloud, as they really were in it, and they certainly battled. But it's the Packers winning in 3 sets, 25-20, 21-25, and 15-7 respectively. The Packers get the win, and it went down to ultimate penultimate points there for Tri-County and Fremont, but it's going to be the Packers on top, 25-12, 25-14, and 17-16 there in that matchup. Let's rewind back to August 21st. Some more boys soccer on deck for you. Newaygo takes down Lakeview in conference action by a score of 4-0, followed by Tri-County and Grant reportedly battling to a 2-2 tie. We don't have reports of a penalty kicks situation being had to determine the winner, but it is listed as a 2-2 tie, so I would look forward to a rematch of those two teams to see who comes out on top. North Point Christian takes down Big Rapids in non-conference action 5-0, the score reported there. And Kent City gets a dominant win on the road at Reed City by a score of 9-0 in a first half mercy. In volleyball action, Central Montcalm taking on some teams both in conference and non-conference action. As they played Greenville first, they fall 25-9 and 25-14 there to Greenville, as well as they get a win over Blanchard Montebello in a bounce-back game, 25-18 and 25-22. And then in the finale, a 3-set thriller with the Lakeview Wildcats. It would go 25-21 to Central Montcalm, 23-25 in favor of the Wildcats, and it would go down to a 2-point thriller in the penultimate where the Hornets get the win over the Wildcats, 15-13. Your final score from that one. Kanawha Hills against Newaygo in non-conference action. This one would go to 3 sets, and it would be a win for Kanawha Hills, 25-13, 24-26 in favor of Newaygo. And then the third set, Kanawha Hills gets on top, 25-10, the score there. Kent City facing off against some non-conference folks. They win over Carson City Crystal 25-8, 25-22, as well as defeat Muskegon Heights Academy in a dominant fashion. 50 points combined in the 2 sets, only 11 for Muskegon Heights, 25-4 and 25-7 respectively. And finally, against Ravenna, makes it a 3-game sweep, defeating Ravenna 25-10 and 25-9. The final score is reported there, as well as in non-conference action. Lakeview was also there at the nets. They fell to Greenville 25-19, 25-20, but bounced back for a win over Blanchard Montebello. They fell in the first set 25-20, but rallied back for 2 straight 25-11 and 15-11 to take the victory. Chip Hills also was in a thriller against Bullock Creek. How about a 5-set thriller? What a volleyball game that appeared to be. Chip Hills took the first 2, 25-19 and 25-21. The Lancers bounced back for 25-21 and 25-22 wins, and Bullock Creek would get on top 15-13. So the Warriors fall to the Lancers. Muskegon Reeds Puffer defeats Newaygo 25-20 and 25-21 there in non-conference action. In conference action, Newaygo against Reed City, it would be the Coyotes on top of the Lions, 25-20 and 25-18 on the road, a win for the Coyotes, as well as Reed City would take on Reeds Puffer, 25-18 and 25-19 loss there for Reed City against Reeds Puffer, and they would also fall to Kanawha Hills, 25-16 and 25-15. Sparta took on Tri-County, and it went down to the wire in a third set, but Sparta gets a 3-set win, 25-20, 25-23, and 25-11, the scores there. And also in the Viking Volleyball Invitational for White Cloud, or excuse me, not White Cloud, how about Whitehall, the Vikings hosting Newaygo. They would get a win 25-21 and 25-20 respectively, and Whitehall would also defeat Reed City 25-14 and 25-22. Back we go again in another rewind type fashion. We go back just a couple of days prior to August 17th for some more boys soccer. Big Rapids falls to Mount Pleasant 4-2, and they would bounce back for a win against Portland 4-2, as well as Coopersville and Newaygo did battle. It's the Broncos on top of Newaygo 8-0. Tri-County would fall to Middleville, Thornapple, Kellogg, and Muskegon Orchard Views. Virtue of scores 7-0 and 4-1 respectively, and Big Rapids would go to a 2-2 tie against Ludington, while Tri-County fell to Muskegon Oak Ridge. One last day to go through, August 19th. I know we're bouncing all over the place. I had them miswritten in my notes, so bear with me here. If you need to re-listen to these by date, so you get them, BigRapidsDailyNews.com or WBRN.com under the podcast tab under the West Michigan Sports Show. Grant falls to Orchard View 3-2. Ithaca wins over Lakeview 4-0. Kent City over Shelby 5-1. And Pentwater wins a defensive slugfest over Newaygo by a score of 1-0. Whew, there we go. First one in the books. A little rough, but we made it through. We'll get back into a volleyball preview and more local sports thoughts after this here on WBRN.
Dazos Digital is a proud sponsor of the West Michigan Sports Show. They specialize in elements to help take your business to the next level with everything digital. Dazos Digital is different from traditional media companies and digital advertising agencies because of our attention to detail for our clients. We pride ourselves on the creative we build for our clients and the positioning we offer them within their target market. You can find out more information at DazosDigital.com or by contacting the Big Rapids Media Network.
Welcome back here to the West Michigan Sports Show presented by Dazos Digital. Welcome back here to the West Michigan Sports Show presented by Dazos Digital. We're getting into volleyball and a full season preview. We'll get into all teams in the CSAA and do our best to break them down here based on the results that we have. What is a shame is there's no standings on the MHSAA website, so it's hard to track where these teams are at. And I took it a challenge upon myself. BigRapidsDailyNews.com. We're going to have standings updates for soccer as well as football and volleyball. Cross country, it's a little difficult considering that it's just one race at the end of the year, but we'll get those other three sports for you so you can keep track of where the teams are at based on the standings on the records, so on and so forth. So you can go there for all of your CSAA sports fix, and we get you covered there. But based on the numbers that we have last year, we'll kind of go from team to team. We'll obviously start with the hometown teams, and then we will stretch outward to the other teams. So Big Rapids last year was 9-9 overall based on the sports scores that were reported. They got to a district, or they were in, I believe, the championship of District 35, where they fell to Ludington in 3 sets. So it was still a really good season for Coach Van Cullen and company, as they did reach that district final. But CSAA-wise, they really did take care of business. Some wins along the way. Did have a loss against Kent City, but they were still able to really battle a lot of those teams. They fell to Reed City, but they still battled back, and they got themselves up the board as much as they could. And that 9-9 record, especially for the firepower that offense had, really did make some numbers, as you saw coming off of that season, a really crazy game against Reed City in District 35 action 2 years ago that went to 4 sets before Reed City would carry on. You just saw a team that had a lot of potential, and you just didn't see it in the win column as much. But last year, you got to see it a little bit more, and I think this team has a lot of potential with a lot of the experience that they're bringing back this year. Yes, it will be a little bit potentially of a team that might be a little bit high and low, but the high for this team is going to be really good, especially when we saw some of those big wins that they were able to stretch out, especially on the road at White Cloud against Central Montcalm at home in 5 sets, and then also at home against Grant. They were able to beat these good conference teams, and which was a really good thing to see, but we'll see what they have in store for this year. Reed City lost some firepower for this season as they lost Kylie Weck to the Division II NCAA level at Wayne State. But Coach Patterson, they do a great job of finding athletes, and they do a really good job of scheduling some tough competition. They were a 25 win team last year, and they certainly had a deep playoff run in their pocket if they didn't run into the Orioles round 1, who really made a deep playoff run. So it was really just a bad matchup, but you saw them in CSAA tournament action. They did really well, eventually falling to Kent City City. So really this team, there's no question they're a good volleyball team each and every year. They just need to get over the hump to really show with these playoff accolades how good they really are. They fell in the 2 years prior to Cadillac in District 35 after beating Big Rapids on the road. So we know these teams are good. We know for a fact that Reed City has a very good volleyball program. Just winning those championship tournament games is really the only thing that is holding them back from a resume perspective. They really do a great job attacking. They do a very good job defending as well. They have an explosive offense, but they can still make some plays, and that's something that you need in the sport of volleyball for sure. So this will be a team to watch each and every year. Might be younger, but they always find a way to get some athletes on that roster, and certainly worth mentioning after what we saw last year in that 25-win campaign. Pretty impressive stuff at the end of the day. Pretty impressive, though. That was a Kent City team last year, to say the least. 29 wins, 13 losses, and 2 ties. Their finishing record is they fell to West Catholic in 4 sets in District 39 action, falling short of a trophy. Boy, they were a fantastic team to watch last year. CSAA tournament champions, as they were able to beat Grant, Reed City, and then Morley Stanwood. Those 3 games ending up getting them a tournament championship. They really impressed at a large level. Only losses really on the season were against some premier state contending teams such as Pewamo Westphalia, as well as Spring Lake, Ludington as a team that I mentioned earlier. So they played a lot of those teams, and they were prepped and ready to go. And they're looking to run it back here in 2025, as there's certainly one thing. If Coach Kruger is on that sideline, they're going to be in really good shape. She's a great coach, and we have seen it over the last couple of years, and they're in very good hands with her at the helm, and we can't wait to see if they can try to replicate a regional appearance back there in 2022-2023 season. The one team that beat Kent City last year, as I semi-alluded to earlier on, Morley Stanwood. Boy, they had a phenomenal season a year ago. I mean, you looked at this team and you were like, man, there's a lot of question marks looking into the season. This might be the year that they could go. This might be a year that they could struggle. But man, they really made the most of it based on what they did in conference play. Because you saw for this team, they were really in the driver's seat in that district action. Because this was a team that we looked in, it was 11-10 on the season. They were going in around 500. Based on all the sports and scores that were reported. But they were in a lot of these games. I remember looking back when they played the Grant Tigers just about before the school year started. And it was I believe the first set of conference action we saw from that team was a 31-29 set win in set number 1 of conference action. You could just tell that they were going to be a gritty team. Only losses on the year were to Reed City. They beat Kent City in the regular season in 3 sets, however, would fall to them in the early round of the CSAA tournament, but they did reach the district semifinal where they fell to Shelby in 4 sets. But especially from the comeback from the year before, Morley Stanwood really put on a show, and it was very impressive to see them bounce back this past year. And we look forward to trying to seeing that once again. A team that was also, speaking of the word gritty, White Cloud was a team that you saw a lot of 4 and 5 set matches on the board throughout their schedule. They really played some competitive matches for Coach Decken and company. I think you really saw them a little bit up and down. It's just the consistency that they're working on. They did very well considerably in a lot of their games on the road compared to, a lot of the typical averages. You're hoping for maybe, 50-50, and you really get like a 75% chance kind of as your standard at home. But they did a really good job playing some teams on the road, especially in tournament play. They struggle a little bit at home. That's something that they can probably improve on. But really for them, they were unfortunately knocked out by Morley Stanwood in that opening round, and Grant, and just a bad game for them overall in that CSA tournament open round. So we'll see what they have in store here for 2024. Speaking of the Tigers, they were 20-13 a year ago. Some great wins on the record, and we certainly saw with that early district loss 2 years ago that we were going to maybe see a bounce back campaign from them. Unfortunately, they had to run into Kent City in round 1, which was a shame, but you saw them competing at a high level at tournaments, especially in the season, such as the CSAA tournament, where they were able to beat Newaygo. They were able to beat White Cloud in those opening rounds. They also took care of a lot of those teams in the regular season. They were bouncing a little bit up and down when it came to some of those other teams in non-conference action. but that's something that they can work on over the years to come. But the Central Montcalm tournament at the end of the year, I think certainly really spoke volumes for them, playing tough against Newaygo, Ithaca, beating Shepherd, and beating Central Montcalm. I think that was really a dominant performance for them at Central Montcalm's tournament. I think that was a really big get for Grant, and we'll see what they have in store here for the next season. Central Montcalm, speaking of which, it's only fitting we transition to them. They struggled a little bit in 23-24, a little bit down of a season, especially compared to a year ago. But I think when you look at where they're at, they're trying to get into a little bit of a mini rebuild. Obviously, Central Montcalm has a great program, and now making some transitions down to the silver. I think we're going to get to really see how good they were in a lot of these sports. So it's going to be very exciting to see. Obviously, some of these other sports, they're going to stay in the conference with all the other 10 teams. But you're going to see like football, for example, moving down. You're going to see the athleticism and number of athletes now really on display for how good of a school that is, especially for a school district that's losing a lot of numbers. But Central Montcalm was a team that just really could never get a run together. They would seem to, win one game, then lose two, or win two, and then lose one. They really never got on some of these big 6, 7, 8 game win streaks like some of these other teams in the conference. So those are something that they look forward to capturing, is that momentum, especially when you saw their own home tournament losing to some of those games against tough competition. That one was really, really a dagger near at the end of the season, but they did compete very well, had some of their best games in the year in the district round, which was very good to see. So maybe some momentum carrying over this year to see an improvement of momentum. Tri-County is a team that showed some sparks, but not on the win column. They're a team that is looking to improve this upcoming year after only 2 registered wins a year ago. And that's something that's really tough to see, especially for that school. They have a lot of volleyball fans there. They're trying to build it up there in that gymnasium, a new gymnasium over a year ago, or a couple years ago, I should say. But they're looking to improve this upcoming season, especially with, I believe, a couple more winnable games just based on the eye test on this next year's schedule. So we hope to see some more wins there for the Tri-County Vikings. One team that I did miss that I'm going to go back to is the Lakeview Wildcats. They're a team that played in a lot of competitive games last year. That was one of the notable things that I saw when I was looking through a lot of these results. I said it with White Cloud. I'll say it with them too. I think they had the most 5-set games on their schedule out of any team in the conference. I mean, it is kind of crazy the amount of 5-set games they had. I believe it was 4 or 5 in the season, but they played tough. They played competitive despite their record. They really gave a lot of these teams as much effort. You want to give them, you don't want to get the hustle award that kind of feels like a participation, but this team really did earn it. They really did, based on these outcomes. No matter the team, no matter the level, playing Big Rapids, playing a lot of these really tough conference teams into 4 or 5 sets. That's something to definitely be proud of. I know they want the win, and I know they want to improve and get a little farther in districts this year. So we hope we see that from Coach Bunker here into 2025. I believe that's all the teams I got. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on this show wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you next week with some more score reports and some more chat topics and interviews coming up this entire fall. Can't wait to bring it to you. We bring you back to your regularly scheduled programming here following the Local Sports Hour. Thank you all for joining us here. I'm Brandon Wirth saying sayonara, and we'll see you later next Saturday here on News Radio WBRN.